Hi, come on in. You're just in time for Peace TV.
Well, this is a nonviolent demonstration protesting the evil that's in this building to start with. It's a nonviolent demonstration against the evil that's going on in this building. There are good people working in there, but what they are producing, contributing to Star Wars, is evil in itself. And when the dynamic of any proposition is evil, no good may result. Nuclear weapons kills hundreds of thousands of people. Therefore, it's an evil empire. Had Christians in Germany sat down on the tracks, thousands of Jews would not be dead if they had done non-violent civil disobedience such as we are doing here today.
History from repeating itself. I'd like to read something from a letter from the Birmingham jail by Martin Luther King, probably the most reprinted of all of Martin Luther King's writings. You may ask, why direct action? Why sit-ins, etc.? Isn't negotiations a better path? You are exactly right in your call for negotiation. Indeed, this is the purpose of direct action. Nonviolent direct action seeks to create such a crisis and establish such creative tension that a community that has consistently refused to negotiate is forced to confront the issue. It seeks so to dramatize the issue that can no longer be ignored. I just referred to the creation of tension as a part of the work of the nonviolent resistor. This may be rather shocking, but I must confess that I am not afraid of the word tension. I have earnestly worked and preached against violent tension, but there is a type of constructive tension that is necessary for growth. Just as Socrates felt that it was necessary to create a tension in the mind so that individuals could rise from the bondage of myths and have truths to the unfettered realm of creative analysis and objective appraisal, we must see the need of having nonviolent gadflies to create the kind of tension in our society that will help people to rise from the dark depths of prejudice and racism to the majestic heights of understanding brotherhood. So the purpose of direct action is to create a situation so crisis-packed that it will inevitably open the door to negotiations. We therefore concur with you in your call for negotiations. Too long has our beloved Southland been bogged down in the tragic attempt to live in monologue rather than dialogue. Martin Luther King here talks about, from the Birmingham jail, creative tension. He talks about provoking. And I think with nonviolent direct action, that in fact is what we're trying to do. We're trying to provoke. It is a battle, it is a war, and just as in any war or battle, people get hurt, they are inconvenienced, and at times throughout history are killed. Throughout history, there has never been a victory without a battle. Let me say that again. Throughout history, there has never been a victory without a battle. I'm not going to leave because of the work of SCI that has encouraged things like the nuclear arms race that harmed this child.
This is private property owned by Carnegie Mellon University. You're going to have to leave. You're going to be arrested for defiant trespass.
It would be an honor to be arrested. I'll stand up. Let this speak down and hold this end.
Good job.
Okay. God bless.
Thanks, Vince. Thanks for being here. We all appreciate what you're doing.
All right. God bless.
Thanks, Vince. Thanks for being here. We all appreciate what you're doing.
All right.
Someday they'll close the doors here and we can all go home.
And when we talk about nonviolence, when we talk about nonviolent direct action, we are talking about fighting the power. We are talking about fighting the powers that ought not to be. We're not talking about a passivity or a reasonableness or a sentimentality, but we're talking about being demonstrative. We're talking about acting out our outrage. We're talking about acting on our hearts. So it is not enough to simply have public demonstrations, to approach our congresspeople, to leaflet, to demonstrate. But it is necessary if we are to win our freedom from this nuclear slavery that, like the civil rights movement, we must create a tension, a creative tension by inconveniencing and disrupting the system that allows the production of 5 nuclear weapons a day, weapons so small that none of them are as big, they're several times bigger than the Hiroshima bomb. At Carnegie Mellon University, what we have is an experiment in truth, or an experiment in love. For the last 4 years, Carnegie Mellon University has been involved with military research. The Department of Defense has created the Software Engineering Institute on 5th Avenue, right across from St. Paul's Cathedral. On campus, there are many military contracts. 37% of the money that Carnegie Mellon receives is from research, and only 31% is from tuition. So it is not an exaggeration to say that there's been a military takeover at Carnegie Mellon, that their very bread and butter, their very existence depends on the death dealing that comes with creating weapons that will destroy the creation that God so loves. At Carnegie Mellon University, we have a chance to keep hope alive. We have a chance to keep hope alive by trying to affect the different personalities, the students, the faculties, the public at large whose vote doesn't count in terms of how the public monies are used, and weapons of destruction whose end result is unimaginable, is unthinkable. Gandhi one time said that our strength lies in the truth and not in numbers. And we are seeing, as we approach the 90s in Carnegie Mellon, that our strength lies in the truth. Our strength lies in love. It does not lie in the crowd or in the groundswell that we so desperately hope for. This is not the 60s when the public outcry slowed down the war in Vietnam to the point that we lost. It seems like when you don't have that many people who are concerned, whose hearts are not touched, that what you have to do is get a big drum. What you need is to provoke. You cannot depend on people being responsible. Saying that people are responsible is the ultimate sentimentality and treating people like children. People are not being responsible. They have traded in their souls for military research. They are working on things that they would never imagine doing personally. They have saved their hate for the public level. And so when we approach people at Carnegie Mellon University, we come to them with love and we come to them with care. But we come to them as adults and tell them to clearly stop, to leave this place and learn what it is to serve and to love. And that the military research that's going on at Carnegie Mellon University is larceny from the poor. And that research could be better done in areas like medical research, in terms of the homeless, in terms of ending the epidemic of AIDS. And so at Carnegie Mellon University, we are seeing an academic community that once held this country accountable, as many academic communities did, for its war making, as becoming an intricate part of the war machine, as becoming an intricate part of the Pentagon. There's never been a victory without a battle. And somehow at Carnegie Mellon, we must nonviolently confront, nonviolently disrupt. And maybe if one university stands up out of many and says, we will not be a part of this. We as an academic community are about the business of truth and beauty and not lies and destruction. Then maybe somehow that we will keep hope alive. For if it's not possible to disarm Carnegie Mellon University, then how do we ever hope to disarm our country and learn what it is to love our enemies?
Excuse me.
And officers, what are we under arrest for here today?
We're gonna have to get back.
This place is closed today. Why would you arrest us for closing some place that is closed? I mean, we would like it to stay closed.
There's occupants inside.
There's occupants inside. We were told there was no one inside, and we've come here symbolically, not actively. Yes, back or you'll go with him. You have a camera. No cameras allowed. This is Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, the United States of America. Listen, there's no one in here. There's 4 entrances. This is symbolic. I don't understand that. You want to wait? I really don't understand what the problem is. There's other entrances people can get in. We'd like this place closed.
Take it easy. The cameras are on.
Under the
Open your hearts, open your minds, close the doors of SCI. Open your hearts, open your minds, close the door of SCI. Open your hearts, open your minds. Close the doors of SCI. Be vigilant, brothers and sisters. Be nonviolent. That's not the problem. The problem is the destruction of the nuclear arms race. Of 5 nuclear weapons made every day with the assistance of Carnegie Mellon University. Maintain nonviolence. Happy Advent, brothers and sisters. Happy Hanukkah. Love you guys. Okay, guys. One more. Open your heart. Open your mind.
At 4 different times, I have engaged in nonviolent civil disobedience. In that, I believe that the only way that we could speak to the injustice is by breaking the law. The law protected the injustices that kept black people in their place. It was the law that had to be transgressed in the civil rights movement. If we were ever able to have a whole generation of black people brought into the mainstream of our society, to be able to vote, to be able to eat at lunch counters, to be able to drink out of the same water fountains, to be able to swim at the beaches, to be able to become a part of leading a normal, productive life. And so in the same way as Martin Luther King and the civil rights movement had to go outside of the law that protected the injustice, of racism, so we must go outside of the law if we are ever to secure our freedom. After 6 days of vigiling and fasting in very cold weather, many people from Carnegie Mellon University had joined me, and it was a very celebrative atmosphere as I attempted to block the entrance to the parking, saying that there is no business as usual, that we're not here to celebrate this, but mourn the grand opening of the Software Engineering Institute, which I believe to be the core and the hub and the brains of the military of the coming nuclear holocaust. It was that initial action where it seemed almost rhythmic to be dragged back and forth and back and forth and back and forth to demonstrate a determinism that we need to have. To go back and back and back to say, let my people go, let my people go, let my people go, so that they may serve.
It's a good day. God has given us a good day to say no to death.
10 days is nothing. A month is nothing. And even a year is nothing. A very small price to pay compared to what people are paying in South Africa for people who have to live under the oppression, the economic oppression here in the United States, day in and day out. So I don't at any level presume that somehow that I am paying a price. At best, for a short period of time, I am in solidarity with those who are in prison. For a brief moment, I am sharing the pain and the suffering that others feel by attempting to provide for their families. For years and years of abuse by this rotten system. And so that the only place for them to go is homeless people. The only place for them to go is those who are unemployed and undereducated is jail. As Malcolm X one time said, if you put people in cages, they're going to act like animals. Our second act of civil disobedience was on tax day, trying to point to the fact that we need to not give over our money, our hard-earned money in tax dollars, to a government that produces 5 nuclear weapons a day. At this time, the Carnegie Mellon security forces and the Pittsburgh police employed some of their own nonviolence, some of their own creative nonviolence. And when we tried to block the entrances, they opened several up so that just because there was only 2 of us, Kevin and I, that we were not able to block the entrances. And so we lay down in the middle of the road, again, to demonstrate, to be demonstrative about the need for normalcy to be stopped, to stop the traffic, to stop business as usual on the production of 5 nuclear weapons every day. And I think that we need to remember that when we look at our paychecks, when we hand our money over to those, to live in an alternative way. I think the first thing, if we're going to live a nonviolent lifestyle, is that we have to stop paying for nuclear weapons. Our third act of civil disobedience was Hiroshima Day, and at Hiroshima Day, we poured ashes. In pouring ashes, that was a symbolic action. In a society that has not remembered what it is to come to its senses. In a society in which we have lost our senses, we have forgot what it is to feel, and what it is to speak, and what it is to hear, and what it is to be mobilized, and what it is to have a heart. In a society that has forgotten how to hear, we speak in sign language. And so the ash pouring was a symbolic action. It was a symbolic action, a sign to a society that has forgotten how to live, a dramatization of a call to repentance, to turn about and hope that we would never experience the world being turned into ashes. That day, the pouring of the ashes was very slow and methodical, very rhythmic, and I felt, and others, a very powerful symbol to those in Pittsburgh and throughout the world. On that day, they chose not to arrest me, but to give me a citation. And later on, when I refused to pay a fine, unexpectedly arrested me on campus one day when postering and leafleting. For most, there would still be a question of why civil disobedience? Why such dramatic acts? Don't they alienate people? Why your enthusiasm about these actions and going into jail? I cannot emphasize enough that unless we are willing to pay a price, unless we are willing to relinquish our normalcy, unless we are willing with all of our hearts to express our outrage at the expense of our comfort, that this nuclear arms race will continue, that the word of SEI and Carnegie Mellon University will continue. I'm not going to leave because of the work at SEI that has encouraged things like the nuclear arms race that harmed this child.
This is private property owned by Carnegie Mellon University. You're going to have to leave. You're going to be arrested for defying trespass.
It would be an honor to be arrested.
I'll stand up. We'll just speak down and hold this end. Good job. Okay. God bless.
Thanks, Vince. Thanks for being here. We all appreciate what you're doing.
All right.
Dave, I want you to tell us why you think it's appropriate to remember Hiroshima at Carnegie Mellon Software Engineering Institute.
Big question. Well, I guess I think it's, appropriate for the whole society to remember the day. It really seems to me to be the signal date of the modern era, really. So much of, everything that we care about and have to live with really started with that event. I think the whole security state, the mania for secrecy, certainly the whole affection for, commitment to military mega development, all of that began then. And I think really the infection of the universities with this kind of super military technology started with that event symbolically. So of course, you've got the political and humanitarian, the ethical reasons to mourn and commemorate the actual event itself, but I think really it's symbol as a beginning of our era, and a lot of crimes and violations of humanity that are really less visible started then. For example, I don't think many students that come into a school now like Carnegie Mellon today even any longer have much of an idea of the university as a sort of ivory tower alternative culture from the dominant culture, and of course particularly in terms of the military, there's very little sense that I think exists among students that military research is out of character with the efforts really to humanize and improve the world.
I believe that what we need in this country is we need jobs and we don't need jails. That it's been too long that our country has been bled to death by military expenditure, as people's basic needs of food and housing and jobs and education have gone unmet because of prejudice and racism and materialism and greed. What needs to happen is a change of heart. What needs to happen is that our hearts need to change. Unless we stand up against this injustice, then our hearts are made out of the same material as the Allegheny County Jail. And hopefully God will replace our hearts of stone with hearts of flesh. And we will once again be able to learn what it is to feel, and what it is to see, and what it is to hear, and what it is to move, and what it is to be creative, and to create a tension so great that we will stop the war.